All right, for the title for this one, it's In the Middle of Chaos, Living with Dante Wright Protests at the Front Door.
It's okay. It's okay. You okay? Y'all fine. He just want me. Go over there. Go over there. I bring you a snack. Stay on the floor. On the floor. Stay, okay? Mommy gonna bring you a snack. Okay? Stay with sister. At first it was very traumatizing to hear all the booms and the bangs. You don't know if that's gunshots or people are outside getting injured. Okay, be careful. It's chaotic, but you are sitting in the middle of the chaos and you're just numb. It's becoming a normal thing, which is not a good thing.
Say his name! What's his name?
So when everybody was right here, they had to get separated.
They started pushing everybody back down that way, and they started shooting stuff. And they would loop around here and wouldn't let nobody in from either side.
But it didn't hit you, right?
They hit the building, but they were shooting back.
They had to be careful. This
They shouldn't even be doing it, period. They should be taking a knee with us. They should be standing with us. I believe that we will win.
My brother, he's only 2 right now. I don't want to ever see my brother on the news as one of these black men getting murdered by them.
We have nothing to lose.
The police are pretty much calm during the day. The crowd is calm as well. But when it turns like, I want to say maybe 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, it gets a little aggressive.
How is it unlawful? It's not unlawful. You're unlawful. There won't be no peace till we get our justice. It'll be years. Sad to say.
I don't know what was going through the mind of the woman that pulled the trigger, but I do also sympathize with her in the sense that if she is a middle-aged white woman in a field that's mainly men, she's probably under stress every day. And everyone is on edge right now. So when you freak out, you don't think and you do make mistakes.
The fact that she can dance and listen to music and twirl around is like amazing to me with all this stuff that's going on out there. I wish my mind was not where it is right now. Be nice to your sister. You don't hit, okay? Turn the TV on so they can't hear me. Well, this is a time where I wish I was somewhere else. Somewhere nice and sunny. Sand. Beautiful sunrise. This is so dark and depressing. This is too close to my house.
This is the Minnesota State Patrol. You're in violation.
All of the army tanks, and I don't know what they're shooting in the air, but just to see their presence is like, if you could put all the money and time into what you're doing right now, you can put the money and time into fixing a problem. Is that the bullets, the rubber bullets? Yeah, she can. Mommy, change your diaper? No. When I'm with my children and I'm just thinking about what's going on around us, I kind of feel like, was it selfish for me to bring them into the world that we're living? What kind of future do they have? Is this what they have to look forward to? Yeah, it's time to go to sleep. Come here, baby.
Title is Body Bags to Ribbon Dress.
I was taught that a ribbon skirt and a ribbon dress, within each ribbon is the prayer for that person and a prayer for the people. Everything about a ribbon dress or a ribbon skirt tells a story. What do we learn from the story, and how does that story protect us? Seattle was the original epicenter of COVID-19. Probably one of the most frightening times I've ever lived through as a public health professional. Here at the Seattle Indian Health Board, we just weren't getting everything that we needed. We had folks sewing fabric masks because we were running so low on PPE for our providers. It was a really scary time, and we were doing everything we could, but it simply wasn't enough because we didn't have what we needed. So we put out a call to our county, our state, and our federal partners, those that are meant to supply community health centers, Indian health services providers with essential PPE. We were really excited when we got what we thought was a box of PPE. Unfortunately, when we opened that box, instead what we found was a box of body bags. These body bags were the perfect metaphor for how Native people have been treated in this country. That they're more willing to let us die and give us what we need to bury our people than they are to find us the things that not only we need, but we have a legal right to ensure that our people not only survive, but thrive. I took a body bag out, and when I folded it in half, I could see the dress that I made before it was actually done. I took some fabric. It is all these woodland flowers all woven together, a connection to the land, a connection to the earth, and to our responsibility to hold on to who we are as traditional people. So that was the very first thing I did, was lay that fabric on the inside of this body bag. The sleeves of the dress were probably one of the hardest things to make. It is the toe tags. If I intertwine these with the ribbon, they actually look like some of the designs and patterns that we would have on our traditional ribbon dresses, and I can reclaim them in this way. And the little string that hangs off that you're supposed to tie on somebody's toe, that can be repurposed and look like the fringe that we might put on a ribbon dress. I picked the color red for all of the stitching, and that's because from my cultural beliefs for the Pawnee people, I was told red is the first color. It's also the color of prayer, the color of strength, and it also is the color of the sacredness of women. And so I sewed those stitches really jagged, and then I purposefully then made them straight to show, yes, we grieve, we mourn, we cry, we sing, we spend time with each other and our families, and we heal, because we need to get back on that path. In the midst of COVID-19, we've seen an 8% increase in domestic violence nationwide. And in a recent survey that my organization did of Native women, we found that 20% of them have seen their safety being threatened as a result of COVID-19 and being quarantined with abusers or being abused in other ways. I wanted to recognize that and also honor those that we've lost as a result of them being murdered and missing. And so I put what the movement has always had, and that is a hand, a red hand. The hand is both one that shows the loss, it shows the prayer, and it shows the strength of our fight. My fingerprints are there on purpose. My handprints are there for my sons if I was to ever go missing or be murdered and my body needed to be identified. Those mirrors, they are deflecting, they are reflecting, and they are a shield. It needs to reflect back to whoever dares send us body bags instead of PPE. It needs to reflect back to them, and it also needs to deflect the terribleness in which Native people have been treated in this country. When I made it originally, it was for healing for me, and then I realized it had the opportunity to be healing for other people. Connecting with my ancestors and my cultural traditions is what allowed me to move forward in not only making the dress, but also allowed me to move forward in being able to be strong in the work that I had to do when I come into the Seattle Indian Health Board every day, ready to fight for our people. We have done some of the most innovative work in the country around not only providing COVID testing, but also now vaccinations. We have not only adapted, we have done it in a way that has allowed our community to thrive despite all of the obstacles of COVID-19. And yet, I still see my people dying around me. And even though we have done a lot with very little, it's not fair, it's not justice, and we still have to wake up every single day and fight. I hope that other Native people, when they see this, know that we don't have to just accept body bags for our people. We only have to accept a world where we are thriving and our communities are ever continuing. That was the hope of our ancestors, and that is what we have the ability to do for the next generations.
The title for the third entry is "What is the future of coming out?"
When I think about my own experiences as a queer and trans person growing up, I imagine that it just would have been so much cooler and so much more awesome if I had been able to embrace all the parts of me early on.
My experience with coming out was more of an experience of self-discovery and the ability to put language on what I was feeling. There was never a need in the sense of coming out, as it was just like communicating, oh, this is a thing about me, and then it was like, okay.
I don't actually remember it, but this is how my mom told it. I was in 5th grade, and she was like the first person I came out to. I guess like the first time was more like I was asking her what trans was, because I was still kind of unsure, and she kind of put it off. I guess like she wasn't ready to like have that conversation with me yet. I obviously was, and I guess it took her a bit to realize that it didn't really matter if she was ready. I guess that was like a really big moment for her. When I was younger, maybe there wasn't as much information out about the queer community. I think that was the case with like my mom. You know, if you don't know anything about what queer or being trans is, and your kid comes up to you and they're like, Mom, Dad, I'm trans, that's gonna be confusing. More people coming out cause there to be more information available. I've seen it a lot on social media, people talking about they're gonna come out to their parents. I don't wanna say it's like normalized, but it's more normalized, I feel.
There is no one time for trans people or non-binary people to come out in life. It happens at any time throughout a person's lifespan, and it's impacted or informed by so many different factors. Most commonly, what we see is young people between the ages of 2 and 4 becoming more distinctly aware of their gender identities. It's very true for me. I became aware of my gender identity at 3, but like, it was squashed, right? And then there were no opportunities for me to think about it more critically or to explore it. It wasn't until much later in life that I was able to explore that more fully and embrace that more fully for myself. Really, I want to use my platform so I can help create conditions that prevent negative health and wellness outcomes that I experienced in my time. So if a kid comes out as trans or non-binary, a lot of times they will reach out to me for support. And so I'll come in and do an affirming intervention as well as lessons for the whole grade, usually pulling from our gender book kit that usually features a trans or non-binary protagonist, but the overarching theme of the story, of each story, is about acceptance, kindness, respect. Our young folks, they don't bat an eye, right? They're like, yeah, cool. You use they, them pronouns? Great, I can adapt. Right? Are you use she, her pronouns now? Great, I can adapt. This is your new name now? Great, I can adapt. And the challenges that we most commonly see are actually with adults who impose their beliefs and values on young people.
I was, from a very young age, meeting and immersed in a lot of queer and trans communities. And so I was able to see myself in people really early on. Officially transitioning and saying, this is who I am, in a sense, happened when I was 10 years old. I think that's when I was finally ready to jump off and be like, I'm going to be assertive about who I am and what I want and what I need in life. I actually very much remember I was on my way home and I told my mom, I said, you know, I'm a girl. And she was like, okay. The thing that was so great is right away my mom was like, okay, great. Do you want to talk about it more, or is this just a thing now? And I was like, this is just a thing now. Can we buy me more girl clothes for when I go back to school? When your kid comes to you and says, oh, hey mom, hey dad, I have something to tell you, it's not something that has to be a surprise to you. The idea of coming out is so sad to me because it enforces the idea that it's something that is not normal. It's something that is abnormal. That is my hope, that kids can just be kids and discover things about themselves and to not have other people be somehow surprised by that, because there's really nothing to be surprised about. It's a kid growing up and learning things.
You know, coming out is really hard, very scary.
There's no one right way to come out or to be out. There is no one right time to come out or be out. The thing that I would encourage all of our young people to consider is what feels safest and best to you.
Eventually, you are going to find people who will support you, and you should stick with those people because, especially, you know, being queer, those are like the best people to be around.
The final entry is titled Race Card.
It looks like this is one of the top stories that we have already disqualified from the video categories. Do you all want to watch it or do you want to skip it?
I think we'd have to apply the same rules here. Unfortunately, I bet these are awesome.
No. Okay, then we can pause here.
Right, Courtney, did you think the same? Oh, you're muted.
Sorry. Should be better at this after 2 years. Yeah. Have to be consistent with the others, although it's too bad.
Yeah.
I actually wouldn't mind seeing it though. If you guys don't mind.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing it.
We can play it.
S22 with a Galaxy trade-in.
Video.
Any year, any condition.
Really? Even if my old phone looks like this? Dude, why?
How could you? It's okay, people. I've trained for this.
It's not complicated. Everyone gets a free new Samsung Galaxy S22 with the Galaxy trade-in. Any year, any condition.
We're not all strong Black women. What bothered me so much about the popular phrase, strong Black woman, was it left out considerate, reflective, deliberate, and patient. Who I am is not just a strong Black woman frowning and forging through life like a checklist. It's not my duty to feign strength or self-righteousness, but to turn my experiences into empathy.
He's my dad, not the gardener. I went back to school as an adult, and a classmate happened to be looking over my shoulder at a picture on my computer. It was a picture of the house where I grew up with my dad out front pulling weeds, and she squinted at the picture and she said, "And was that your gardener?" My dad probably would have laughed and said yes, because he did do most of the gardening at our house. But I was not able to laugh off that, and I've never been able to laugh off the assumptions people make about who my dad is to me. So even if it makes someone else uncomfortable to say, he's my dad, not the gardener, I can live with their discomfort. But I can't live with the idea of the guy in the picture being thought of as something other than my dad.
I am not an exotic creature. Just walking out in the world, I always felt like I was being observed differently than other people because of my ambiguous appearance. Before people would even ask my name, they would say, "What are you? What's your ethnicity? Where are you from?" When I was just simply walking down the street or ordering food at a restaurant or sitting in a movie theater, people would just come up to me and ask me that. And it really made me feel like I was not human. And it led to confusion about my own mixed race identity of being Japanese and Black. For me personally, I have two very strong ethnicities or cultures that are constantly telling me you need to be proud of yourself.
With kids, I'm dad, a lone thug. The thought came to me as I examined how I was treated in Pacific Grove when I didn't have the safety shield of my biracial kids and my European wife. I had noticed that walking around Pacific Grove, I was treated one way when I had the comfort of my wife and kids with me. But during the summers, my wife and kids would go to Germany for approximately 6 to 8 weeks. When I was alone walking around Pacific Grove, just going to certain stores or different places around, I was treated very differently when I was by myself. People just sort of were wondering, what was I doing in their neighborhood?
Okay, now that's an interesting format.
Yeah. Really good.
Yeah, I'm glad we watched that. And it makes me wonder if the other ones that some of them were definitely submitted through Frame.io. They were, they had like the dip in the audio between the cards.
Yeah, it looked more like a screen recording. This one obviously got some editing and mixing done so it could be loaded in a video player on their site. So I think it's different.
Yeah.
It still is certainly an adaptation of a story into a video format, though, don't you think? Because it also has, it's obviously not somebody tapping through, like screen recording, someone tapping through, but because it has sound design and everything to it.
You mean it's an adaptation of the tap story, but not an adaptation of like a different story? Because I think that was the case with one of the previous ones, was it was adapted from a feature into a tap story and then into a video.
Yeah, I'm sure this was adapted from a feature into a tap story and then into a video. It is what it seems like to me, because it's, you'll sort of watch the story and then it'll pause on like a portrait of them and then move on.
Mm-hmm.
That seemed less like online video editing and more like the formula for tap story. I don't know.
Yeah.
One of the things that we talked about with the other ones was how did it appear to the audience, so and it seemed like for some of the other ones that we disqualified, there was it appeared only on Instagram stories. And then for the purposes of this contest, they made it into a click to play video and uploaded it to Frame.io and then submitted that. Whereas I think that this one is different because it's like the audience can watch it on National Geographic's website, and on that website, it is a click to play video.
Right. Yeah, I think this one's different from the other ones. I think it should stay in.
I agree.
Courtney, do you want to start?
Sure. Sorry, I'm just pulling up the headlines. I really loved the New York Times piece on the Dante Wright protests. I thought that was like a fantastic angle that I hadn't seen before, to look at the impact for people who are living near the protests, to focus on this one specific family. The interviews were really powerful. They obviously spent a lot of time with them. That was just clear through like how strong the interviews and shooting was. I had noted towards the end there was like a shot where you could see, I think it was the police out the window and then the family on the bed. That was just like exquisite shooting. So that one really, really stuck out to me as just like a really good editorial choice to take that angle, because so many people are impacted and like impacted emotionally and physically, even if they're not in the protest themselves. And I don't think I've seen something else on that really, other than sort of like quotes and different features. I also really liked, I really liked all of them. They were all like really, really strong, a very strong slate of videos to sort of consider here. The Seattle Times piece on the ribbon dress was really moving. It's an incredibly important issue that also hasn't had a lot of coverage, I think, in the pandemic, or enough coverage. It was a really good angle, really personal, really beautiful shooting. I thought it was effective to show different parts of the dress throughout, cut against the interview. And then I felt myself, like, as I was watching the video, like wanting to see what the entire dress looked like, and then sort of having that reveal at the end, I thought was a successful presentation. So yeah, those stuck out to me the most. I thought that they were all great. I thought that the future coming out was very moving. Again, a lot of trust with the sources, a lot of like very, I think, clearly like sensitive and careful interviewing. Clearly a lot of time spent on that video. And that the last piece that we just watched, Race Card from Nat Geo, I thought was really excellent. I loved the illustrations. I thought it was a strong presentation, strong interviews. Brought up like very important and nuanced issues in race. So yeah, I thought they were all great. Have fun.
Those are all really good comments. I agree with a lot of what you said. I think the New York Times piece, or the Dante Wright protest piece, was a great unique angle as well. Just hadn't seen anything like that. And, it was both parts. They're participating in the protest by filming them for people and putting them out in the world, and obviously yelling and things like that. And then on the other end, when things would get a little more chaotic at night, or if they sounded violent, and, protecting the kids from that. And then that one shot of like seeing both the worlds, the world outside and the world inside, really just drove all that home. So that was really strong. I like the future of coming out piece so much, because it's just so nice to hear from young people about their perspectives of coming out. We mostly, or it just seems like it's mostly covered from what the parents feel. And it's just nice to hear younger voices and to understand that this is this type of, coming out about your identity is going to become less and less of a big moment potentially, because it feels so natural for kids to adapt to the way people want to be addressed, or what their name is or what their gender identity is. So I found that very hopeful, and also unique in that we're getting to hear from younger people. And the ribbon dress story also, I mean, she was such an interesting person to listen to. And I did want to pull back more. I also wanted to see the dress. I wanted to see it. I didn't know if it was meant to be worn or displayed. I would have loved to see it worn a little more and watch it interact in the world, but I don't know what the dress is for now. But it's so interesting, all the details about every decision and what it represents. Makes you think harder about paying attention more to people and listening more to people, and hearing all the many thoughts that go into art like that. Really exceptional.
Okay, so you could put your rankings into Slack and then we can discuss. So Courtney, what's your number 3?
My number 3 was the ribbon dress video. I just lost a bullet in my Slack.
So it looks like it's unanimous. Number 1 is Dante Wright. Number 2 is Coming Out, The Future of Coming Out. Number 3 is the ribbon dress, and an honorable mention to the race card video.